All right, everybody. Welcome back to Queen's Realm Podcast. You see the guests. You see the guests. We got the XD from Chris and the XD. I call him Fancy because he fancy. Our executive L over there. And my wonderful, beautiful, melanated Haitian goddess down here, Nesse. First of
Yes.
all, shameless plug. We're just gonna go in there and throw it in there real quick. It's Nesse's brand, Faithfulinit. Of course, it's gonna be in the description. You know what I'm saying? We fly right now. This one even planned to be
It
fly.
was
First of all, I'm
not.
fly every day, but she just put the
Swagged
salt
out.
with
I
it.
like it. I
You
like
know,
it.
just put the more drip on it. You know what I'm
Thank
saying?
you.
Right,
Pink
okay.
and yellow. I like it.
Just, I got the red one too. Listen, because that's
It
my
was
favorite
not
color.
planned.
Yes.
As you know, if you haven't seen already on the episode I did with Sir Iljan, the fight night. It's the correct way to handle conflicts in relationships. That was part one.
Go
It's a
check that
lot of good.
out.
It's a lot. It's a word being in there. It's a
Some
word in
gems
there
in there. Some real gems in there.
for the rest of the year and on into February because February is the month of love. Uh, for Valentine's Day and all that. We're focusing on mental health, emotional health, spiritual health, self care, and self love. Today, though, today the topic is: do you feel that? And what I mean by that is we're going to talk about your own emotional health and how you feel personally. And specifically today, we're talking about emotional intelligence because everybody has an IQ, but what about your emotional intelligence? And what is emotional intelligence? I'm glad you asked because I got a definition. So, the definition I have is emotional intelligence, otherwise known as your emotional quotient, is the ability to understand, use, and manage your own emotions in positive ways to relieve stress, communicate effectively, empathize with others, and overcome challenges and diffuse conflict. And I feel like I got to read that one more time. Okay. Emotional intelligence is the ability to
Mm-hmm.
understand, use, and manage your own emotions in positive ways to relieve stress, communicate effectively, empathize with others, and overcome challenges and diffuse conflict.
Mm. Great, great, great
Yeah, that's a
definition.
good definition.
So,
Lot.
first, from the top to the bottom, XD is at the top. I want to know your thoughts on just the definition alone. So, XD, you're first because you're at the top. It got cold in here.
I'm gonna go somebody else because I still gotta let it sink in. That's the first time I ever heard the definition of it.
So, the person under XD is Lisa.
Yep. Okay. So when you were reading the definition, I
Mm,
heard every single word that you said, but
mm-hmm,
the word that stuck out to me the most was manage.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Manage was what stuck out to me the most because emotions is something that you really have to manage. You have to manage it every day. Not
Mm-hmm.
only do you have to manage it every day, you have to manage it all day. You may wake up and feel a
Mm-hmm.
certain way, but the
Mm-hmm.
way that you woke up, you may not feel that way in like 2 or 3 hours. Like you could wake up like super, super happy.
But you
And then
control that.
right. So, and controlling it is basically with managing it as well. You know, it's the same thing. So that's what I'm saying, like managing your emotions. That's the biggest thing that stuck out to me. Sometimes it's easier to manage it than it is like, sometimes it's easy to manage, but sometimes it takes a lot of work. Takes
Yes.
a lot of work. But at the
Mhm.
end of the day, you have to be able to manage it. You have to, because if you don't manage it, nobody else can manage it for you.
True that.
I gotta write that down because I. All right.
Elgin,
So I want
Thank
you
you,
to.
Lisa.
So I want you to do me a favor and read it to me one more time because I have some things in my head, but I want to make sure I get clear understanding of what you said before I elaborate.
Oh, ain't gonna be no problem. Ain't gonna be no problem. Okay, emotional intelligence, otherwise known as the emotional quotient, is the ability to understand, use, and manage your own emotions in positive ways to relieve stress, communicate effectively, empathize with others, and overcome challenges and diffuse conflict.
Okay, perfect. So we're gonna start with relieve stress. I was just talking to a good friend of mine today, and we were doing top golf. And I was saying that I'm so glad that I learned at an early age in life to be in the moment and to enjoy life.
Mm-hmm.
Because of the simple fact of the matter is, there's so many things in life where you can relieve stress that we don't even realize. You
Mm-hmm.
Very
know,
true.
we just having fun, hitting the ball at top golf, and I'm just like, man, I'm just stress free, carefree, just having a good time, and that balances me out to where I can become more level headed, and I can go and have a heated conversation now because I'm free,
Mm.
or I'm very much so balanced out, just to say the least,
Mm-hmm.
and to kind of speak a little bit more in depth to the definition of almost giving grace, kind of like we was talking about in the fight night episode,
Right.
is you have to understand that your emotions are not greater than someone else's emotions. And when you're having a conversation with somebody, you can't put your emotions on the forefront and forget about how they feel, you know?
Yes.
So I would say, just based off the definition, it basically tells you to be fair. When you're emotionally intelligent, you're a fair-minded person.
Mm-hmm.
You feel what you feel, but you also have the opportunity to close off your feelings for a moment when you're in listening stage, like we talked about in fight night, um, and receive what somebody is saying and take it in, dissect it, digest it, and then come back with an answer, and not necessarily just, okay, you say what you got to say, da 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 da, and boom,
Mm-hmm.
I'm right back at you. So emotional intelligence goes both ways, not for just expressing how you feel, but understanding how somebody else feels, and making sure that you are you are silent and quiet first. That's kind of what stands out to me in this definition, is not necessarily being so active and ready to speak, but being able to sit back and listen and deal with your emotions first before you even come to the table. So when you get to the table, your emotions are not necessarily so high up. They're kind of
Mm-hmm.
they're kind of closed down, so that you can be open to hear what somebody has to say and be able to, like we saying, digest it, take it in, process it, and then respond solely based off of what they said, but not necessarily on how you feel or how what they said make you feel, because that changes your response. Let's just be honest. If you say something to somebody and they don't feel 100% about it, or it triggers them, or it makes them feel a certain way because you're challenging them, you got to put that emotion to the side and deal with exactly what I said or how I feel about the situation. So for me, that's kind of what the definition is in the whole. It's just basically being smart and intelligent, like the definition says, emotional intelligence, being intelligent to the fact of whatever you're saying, I'm receiving it, and I can receive it and not necessarily diminish my feelings, but put my feelings to the side to process and dissect and download what you're saying wholeheartedly before I respond.
All right. XD, it's your turn now. It's your turn
All right, I'm
on the
taking
deck.
in everything that everybody's saying.
Mm-hmm.
Taking in everything that everybody's saying. And me personally, what I reflected on was the managing of your emotions. I was looking at more of the responsibility of it. For me
Mm.
personally, I've been through a lot of crazy stuff, and sometimes my emotions could be north, south, east, and west. So I see a therapist every other 2 weeks, and to help me get some of my emotions in line. And I feel like we have to be responsible with our our emotions. Just because we feel a certain way, it's our right to feel that way, but it's not right for us to act on our emotions in negative ways that it can impact other people. So
Right.
I was
Mm.
looking more at the responsibility of it.
Um, so for my take on it, like Nisi said, the managed part really stuck out to me, but another part of it was the ability to understand and use.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think a lot of us use our emotions. We deal with our
Mm-hmm.
emotions, but we don't take the time to understand what we're even feeling. Um, Minister Christian in our church said, your feelings may be real, but they're not necessarily true. So it's your feelings. You own it. It's real, but that's not necessarily true for you or true as to who God called you are, or whatever the situation is.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll just run off. Okay, I feel like this, so I should do it. No, you shouldn't. But that's where the true and the real comes in for the feelings. Um, I want to first say that I got my information from the helpguide.org and also from inc.com and psychologytoday.com because I always like to say where I got my information from. And my mother is in here on the chat. And some of her points that she has brought up, I'm just going to read the comments real quick because there's that many of them, was you have to be able to understand yourself. And I think she was agreeing with Elgin when she said, don't project your stress onto another person. She said, I'm not going to take your ish when I have my own. It's easy to absorb other people's emotions.
Yeah, especially when you're in a relationship. It's easy.
Relationship,
Mm-hmm.
friendships, because
Mm-hmm.
we've all talked to somebody and we're not even mad. We're just mad because the person that's talking to us is mad. So we mad because they mad.
Right.
Big time.
So the one question I'm going to ask was just a bullet point that I got from the studying or whatever. And it was, what does emotional intelligence look like manifested in everyday life?
Hmm.
And there's like 13 little points they made. I know we're not going to get through all the points today, but the first one is you think about feelings. Emotional intelligence begins with what is called self and social awareness. You have the ability to recognize emotions and their impact on both yourself and others. So that goes right into what Elgin was talking about. Like if I'm angry and I know I'm angry, sometimes I want somebody to vent to. But other times I think, okay, so and so going through something. Do I really want to put that anger on them because they angry? And certain friends you call, if you call this person, they're gonna get angry with you. But
Right.
if you call another friend and go like, you need to cut it out.
They're
Mm-hmm.
gonna they're gonna
Cut it
level you
out,
out.
calm down. It's not that serious. So you have to make a choice. Do I want to be mad or do I want to calm down? But then you have to think about the impact of what you're being mad, and now you're about to take that to somebody else. So what impact are if you being mad is going to have on another person? Sadness too, like any emotion. Like, do I want to spread that? Because some people don't think about that. They just go right into, I don't care. I got to call so and so right now and tell them all these feelings, and you just dump all of this stuff on another person.
Right. And you didn't even process it yourself.
You just became you just made that person your emotional garbage disposal. You just giving them just stuff back to back. I'm okay. I didn't want to tell you this. I'm gonna wait. You know what I'm saying? Until you know I calm down a little bit. Let me process it because I might
Right.
not even be that mad after I think about it for a little bit. I might not be that sad after I think about it for a little bit. So let me be real careful about what emotions I give to other people. Now, on the first point, who want to go first? Who ready to go right now? Who ready? Don't everybody raise their hand at once. I'm gonna start picking for.
I
Go
got
ahead,
kind of
Elsie.
lost. I got kind of lost in your elaboration. Reread your point one more
Okay,
time.
the first point was you think about feelings.
Mm-hmm.
Emotional intelligence begins with self awareness and social awareness, and it's the ability to recognize emotions and their impact that your emotions have on yourself and other people.
Okay, so I definitely can agree with that. I can kind of give you sediments of that because in my profession, I'm an executive chef. So I have employees, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I tell my employees all the time is leave your feelings in the car. Leave your emotions in the car. Once you clock in, you come to do your job, and kind of disconnect from the world because I want them to have a free
They
space
were free. Very
inside
good.
of the job
Mm-hmm.
to focus and do their job and not worry about what's going on in the outside world. Not everybody can do that, so there's times where people come in, they're kind of not focused, they're thinking, or they're picking up their phone every so often. And I tell them, I said, you haven't disconnected from the world. Go take 5 or go take your 10-minute break, disconnect from the world, and then come back.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's very important from a focus standpoint to be able to shut everything off. And it challenges a lot of my employees because of the simple fact that they've never been able to think in the form of once I'm inside of my what should be a safe haven, once I'm inside of my job, I should be able to disconnect from the world for 8 hours or for 4 hours until I take my break, and then I connect back into the world on my lunch break when I pick up my phone or whatever, and then I can put it down and come back. Not a lot of people are, like we're saying, emotionally intelligent to do that. They just
Mm-hmm.
carry their emotions and feelings with them at all times. But
Mm-hmm.
me personally, I've had to lead by example with that. I've personally, on my way to work, been crying, about
Mm-hmm.
whatever I had going on in my life,
Yeah.
But once I pulled into that parking space, I put that car in park, I had to leave it there, and then I go inside and I don't clock in because I'm salary, but once I get inside the doors, that's my point of clocking in, So I have to turn everything off and be focused on the moment and what I'm doing, focus on my job, focus on my employees, focus on my work, So for me, that's just what it is. That's just an example to give is, once you're doing something or once you're at work, you disconnect from all your problems, from all your pain, and you focus on your job for 4 to 5 hours, however long you focus on until you take a lunch break. When you get your lunch break, you can pick up your phone, you can, connect with your family, do whatever you got to do, connect with the outside world, and then clock back in and connect back in and focus back in on what you're doing. So that's a way that you can practice emotional intelligence, in my opinion,
Mm-hmm.
is just on your everyday life. Everybody works about 8 hours a day. Me personally, I work 10, but um, if you got a regular 9 to 5, you work 8 hours, 8.5 hours, whatever the case may be. That's how you can practice that by just focusing in on more on your task at hand at your job and disconnected from the world and putting your phone down. Like it's a lot of people, they work, they got their phone in their back pocket. Every time it rings, they're picking it up. But when you teach yourself to not pick the phone up or put the phone on silent so you don't even feel it, so you can focus in, that's how you get the built up fortitude or the built up mental toughness to stay focused at the task at hand, which translate into emotional intelligence. Basically, staying focused on the person that you're in a conversation with, the person you're listening to, and what they're saying to you. You don't
Mm-hmm.
stir off in your own feelings and your own emotions because you never done it. You know, the more you do it, the longer moments and times you go with this disconnection from the outside world, from your own personal emotions, and focusing in on your task at hand, which inside of a conversation is focusing in on the person on the other side that you're listening to, the better you become at it.
Yes. He said a lot, but I hope you better rewind it to go back again. Because he went into point two, but I ain't even there yet. So I gotta he went to point two a little bit. Nisi.
I mean, I agree with Elgin, but sometimes it is easier to do it than it's easier said than done.
Mm-hmm.
But that's where that emotional intelligence comes into play, where it's not just knowing what's going on. It's actually using, like when you said the definition, you're managing and you're using, being able to balance your emotions. So you got to be able to turn it on and turn it off. Whether that's, you clock in at your job, like Elgin said, whatever it is that's going on, you got to turn it off. If you're going to pick it right back up when you get off of work, then pick it right back up. But you have to be able to have that. Or if it's just, turning it off and not necessarily turning it off, but going to do something that you like, something that you enjoy. And then the thing that you like and you enjoy is helping you deal with your emotions. And after you actually do the thing that you enjoy, you may not feel the way that you were feeling going into it.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right. XD.
Um, I kind of agree, disagree, and I can
Okay.
give my reasons for it because I
Mm,
recently went through something that what you're speaking about. I was at work. I got a call that my daughter was sick and I needed to leave. But
mm,
before I was able to leave, my supervisors are talking to me about, you need to calm down and, figure out what you want to do. And I'm a single father. I don't have any help. It's just me taking care of my kids. So when I'm in that state of worrying about what's going on at home, it's hard for me to keep control of my emotions because it's all on me.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
okay.
so it's hard to put your emotions and everything off sometimes because of the responsibility you have to different things that need so much of your attention.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I kind of disagree with that. I know you have to, especially when your job, turn off the world and focus on the job because you're there to get paid. You're there to work.
Right.
But at the end of the day, you're working for those people at home. And if something's going on there, you're not going to be focused. You're not going to be focused on the job.
Child.
Is something
I
going on
don't.
in my end? 'Cause
Yes, you froze. Like we can hear you, but you're like frozen in that. It's like a still photo of both ends.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
There we go. I was in the middle of texting you like, hey, you're frozen.
Mm-hmm.
My mom on the chat over there, she's saying communicate what you're feeling and also communicate what your expectations are from sharing that information. Do you want
Mm-hmm.
a shoulder to cry on or do you want someone to bitch at?
Mm. Good point.
Wow. Wow. Okay. So, from what all of you were saying, y'all actually just took us right into point two. And point two was, after you think about your feelings,
Mm-hmm.
point two is you pause. And it's just self-explanatory. You pause. You take a second to think about, okay, like my mom, everybody just led us into the second point. Um, Stop and think before you speak or act.
Mm-hmm.
And like Nietzsche said, it's easy in theory, but sometimes it's difficult in practice because
It is.
you hear some news is can't like you just react. Um, there was a death, and I was saying my family because we've been so friends long that we've been family, and I stopped everything I was doing, and I was like, I'm coming to where you are right now. I left groceries out. I didn't, was no thought. I didn't pause. I didn't need to pause. I paused when I got there.
Yeah, you didn't give yourself time to fully process.
But on the way over there, I had to pause because I'm crying, I'm driving, I can't see, I'm upset. Okay, those are not good combinations. So I'm on the phone with another friend. She's like, nah, pull over, take a second, get yourself together. Because if you're going to comfort somebody else, you can't be just emotionally all over the place. So take a second,
Right.
pause, and then continue. So got myself together. You know, um, a lot of us don't pause. I'm guilty of pausing too long.
Mm.
That's the thing.
It
It's a
really is.
it's like a delayed reaction. Uh,
Mm.
Fight or flight. People always talk about fight or flight, but there's another part of that. It's the pause reaction. Like you don't do nothing and then all of a sudden, boom, all this emotion come out like vomit because you paused too long. We
Mm-hmm.
saying take a moment, a second. I'm not saying take 3 days and decide you mad on the third day. And I'm guilty of that because I didn't pause when I needed to,
Yeah.
or I'm not managing the emotions. Like Nisi said, they're just there, and I'm running with all of them. So by the time I get to that emotion, first of all, I have to run the gamut of emotions. Once I get to that one, okay, now I can be mad at this because I'm done being emotional about that thing. No,
Definitely.
don't do that. That's not healthy. Don't do that. So pause soon as something happens. Refrain from making like permanent decisions because you mad right now or you sad right now, even if you happy right now, because we're talking about the negative part of it, but sometimes you need to pause when something is good and where you're happy because you
Mm-hmm.
happy right now. It feel good right now. It ain't negative yet. Not saying all happy things turn into negative things, but you know what I mean.
Definitely. So
So go ahead.
before we answer this question, I had something that I wrote down in my notes that I wanted to ask XD,
Mm,
because I think it'll be a good answer to someone out there that might be skeptical of therapy or think it's a waste of time or a waste of money. But
mhm.
what I wanted to ask XD is, you said you do therapy every 2 weeks. How has therapy improved your emotional state and made you a better man? If it has or if it hasn't.
It allowed me to focus my emotions because my therapist asks different questions that really turns everything back around to make me make a decision, helps me make a decision. And for
Mm,
Okay.
me, because back in the day, if something were to happen, I squeeze first, ask questions last type of mentality. And that
Mm-hmm.
got me in a lot more trouble. Now with therapy being put in a position where I have to sit down and think for a minute, it's allowed me to really analyze things a lot better. That's
mhm.
why when Queen's Realm asked me to go first, I say, you know what, let me go second. Let me process what's being asked so I can properly give my feelings on it. So that's what I
Okay.
do a lot of times. That's
He
Okay.
how it's
did
helped
step
me.
1 and 2.
Mhm.
He did step 1 and 2, y'all. Did you see that? I wasn't gonna say that, but he did step 1 and 2. He thought about what he felt first. Then he
Mm-hmm.
paused, and we talked about that in the process. Let and I don't have a problem waiting for one of my friends to let him process it so he can give the right answer for him, because ain't no right or wrong answer, but let him process it first.
Right.
Definitely.
But
So
the
I can
biggest
kind of
thing for
elaborate.
about it,
Okay.
the biggest
Go
thing
ahead.
about it was my therapist isn't my friend or somebody I know. It was somebody who
Mm,
was coming from
a
a whole
professional.
different area. Yeah, that wasn't going to tell me what I wanted to hear,
Mm,
Right.
mm,
and that helped a lot.
We
mm.
all need that.
Definitely.
Yep. Um,
Definitely. We all do need that.
the
I think about
third
therapy all the time, honestly.
chat, I put in referral. Like I told the squad, I'm gonna rename the squad the Royal Court because of, you know, I don't want to get sued. So the Royal Court, aka the squad. Um, I put in referral, like him going to therapy inspired me like this. I need somebody to talk to too. We're not even go cap. I love the Lord, I love Jesus, but sometimes you need a physical person in your face who don't know you. And I'm just waiting on them to call like, hey, we got your therapy appointment. I just say I asked the
Mm-hmm.
doctor because 2020 alone is enough for therapy.
Yeah.
But I ain't scared of it. Point three, which again, y'all are doing real good. Y'all got some prophetic anointings on y'all because y'all
We
just leading me effortlessly into the next points. God bless y'all. Third point is you strive to control your emotions and your
mm-hmm.
thoughts. You don't have much control over the emotion you experience in a given moment, but you can control your reaction to those emotions by focusing on your thoughts. Like, why am I even mad? Why am I even sad? And I'm saying that's hard. Sometimes that's hard because when you're feeling something, you're just in it. I'm just mad. I don't care why I'm mad. I'm just mad. I'm sad. Nobody wants to stop and examine why they're mad or sad or happy because sometimes if you stop and think about why you're mad, that's dumb. That's dumb. Why am I mad at this? Why? Why? What is this going to do for me 10 minutes from now? Not even 10 years, 10 minutes from now. Why am I crying over this?
Mm-hmm.
But there's a flip side of that because some people will just think of more things to be sad about because
Right.
they're sad.
That's
And
exactly what I
more
was
reason
thinking.
to be angry because I'm angry and I want to stay mad. I want to stay mad, but I don't want to examine why I'm
True that.
mad.
So,
Go ahead,
um,
Elton.
to kind of elaborate on point two a little bit and point three,
Mm-hmm.
the pause. Um, a lot of times people don't understand the power in the pause, and what I
Mm-hmm.
mean by the power in the pause is it just gives you an opportunity to truly think about what someone just said to you, and gives you an opportunity to kind of say your response in your head before you say it out loud. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I was managing someone that stuttered before, and I always challenged her to say her response to herself 3 times before she said it to me, and it actually helped her stop stuttering because she would pause and dissect what I said, and then she would say it to herself 3 times, and she would say it to me. Um, and I use that analogy just to show you the power in the pause. Because someone that stutters, if you understand what stuttering is, you get excited and you talk really fast for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
And if you can calm yourself down, which then calms your mind down, you can process something better, and then you can respond fully and therapeutically, in my opinion. So the pause is very, very important in conversations, and I practice that a lot with my staff. And sometimes they get frustrated with me because they're like, "Oh, chef, you're not listening," or "Oh, you didn't hear what I said." And I tell them all the time, I said, "No, it's not that I didn't hear what you said. I had to take a moment to understand what you said so that I can give you a proper response." And I
Mm-hmm.
just kind of think about a conversation I had just this week with a staff member that, um, they get a certain day off every week because that's the day they requested off. And I had been giving it to them for about 3 months in a row. And they were very upset. They was like, "Oh, Friday, my day off. Like, why you scheduling me for Friday? Da 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 da." And for me personally, I was upset that they even challenged me about having to work on that day. But I just kind of let them, do their thing. They said how they felt. I sat back in my chair. I listened to what they said, and I paused and I got all my thoughts together, and I was able to give them a well thought out, elaborate answer. And I told them, I said, it frustrates me as the leader for you, it makes me feel like you don't think about why I had to schedule that. You just responded to what happened. And that's
Mm-hmm.
what people do all the time. They see
Mm-hmm.
something they don't like, or they hear something they don't like, and they just respond. They don't even think like, dang, let me look at the schedule. Let me piece it out. Okay, well, this person off, that person off. It says request off. So that means that they requested it. So that overrides my actual day off because they requested it off. This person requested off.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we need 6 people on the floor to be successful. Okay, I'm the 6th person, and it's nobody else that chef could have possibly scheduled. That's where the pause comes into place. You're not
Mm-hmm.
upset because I scheduled you, but you dissect and you understand what's actually happening to you, the
Right.
reason I had to schedule you, and then you can come up with a response. You could have said, like, chef, like, I get it. Like, I understand, like, you had to schedule me. Like, it was no other choice because that's what it was for me.
Right.
You know, I didn't have a choice. Like, you're the last person, you're the last option. And I was able to listen to what he was saying because he was frustrated. And I was pissed off too. I'm not going to lie. I was pissed off because of
Mm-hmm.
the fact of the matter is of entitlement. That's really,
Mm-hmm.
really a big thing for me. And I deal with that with a lot of staff members is they feel like they're entitled to something just because they ask for it. And that's not the case in life. You can ask for whatever you want to ask for, but that doesn't mean that you're going to get it or that you're
Mm-hmm.
owed it. So I just listened to him, and I dissected what he had to say, and I processed it, and I told him, I said, I'm glad you said it that way. I'm glad you said that you're upset because Friday is your off day. And my response to him was, it's really not. It's not. It's a it's actually, I'm giving it to you. You know, it's a
Mhm.
privilege to have that day off. You know, and that's how some people think in their mind. They're very entitled. So if they feel like, oh, I'm upset, you hurt my feelings, they feel like, oh, you got to feel sad because you hurt my feelings. No,
No.
not necessarily. I don't have to feel
Mm-mm.
that way. But what I can do is listen to why it hurts your feelings and understand where that pain is coming from, or where that connection to that trauma back in your back past that's still lingering to this current emotion, and then we can deal with that. So that's kind of my thing on, taking a pause and then, coming back and hearing what somebody says and being able to emotionally respond without adding my emotions into it. Because in that moment, I had to put my emotion to the side. If I would have dealt with how I was feeling and just responded to him negatively and very emotionally charged up, the conversation would have went left. I probably
Mhm.
would have said something I wasn't supposed to say. I probably would
Mhm.
have, told him, where to go and how to get there and clock out right now type stuff, you know. But
He said, "Where
I
to go? How to get
Challenges of
there?"
being a leader.
yeah,
Child, listen.
I had to dissect and listen and then be able to respond. So it's very important to do those things, to hear what somebody has to say and take it
Mhm.
in and take that pause and learn where it's coming from and then respond.
Nesse.
Okay, so Elgin brought me back to the pause, but I know that we moved on from pause.
Go ahead.
So, what was the third point again? It was thought,
Try
right?
to control your thoughts
Right.
because you may not be
So,
able to control the emotion, but you can control the thought that's,
right.
the emotion came from.
Okay. So, going back to what you said, as far as sometimes the thought can actually, if you sit there and you think about it for too
Mhm.
long, like it's good to pause, take that pause, and as you're in your pause, then you think, but don't pause for too long and
Mhm.
think a lot for some people,
Mhm.
because in some cases your thoughts could just make it even worse, because
Right.
you could take your thoughts into like where it's just negative and you just ready to like, jump, and actually react in a way that, you shouldn't be reacting in. So, I mean, the thought for me, I think it really just depends, but it goes back to the emotional intelligence and trying to manage your emotions and everything
Mhm.
like that. But for some people, it's just not as easy. And then when you put thought into it, because you have some people that are overthinkers,
Yes.
so when you put an overthinker into the thought process where they're thinking about it for too long and
Mhm.
they're trying to process their emotions, it could go left. That's,
Way
True.
left, super left, curved.
Hmm.
that's just
That is
putting
correct.
another perspective into
Correct.
the situation.
So, what's some tips for the overthinker? How can they effectively communicate?
But I don't know, Elgin, you tell me.
Listen, I got some because I'm an overthinker.
I'm an overthinker. That's why I said it.
I got some. I'm
So, you
working on
speaking from experience. I feel that.
it. So one thing I tell you, it's real
I
cheesy.
can
It's
actually
real
speak to
corny.
that.
I've seen it. Go ahead, XD.
What you said, XD?
I can actually speak to that because I'm an overthinker. I'm an overthinker myself, and I recently had a situation where I was overthinking and I left a group, the group chat I'm a part of. I had my
Mhm.
own personal thoughts that was going through my head, and I left for like a day or so. I allowed myself to relax, get my thoughts together, and then I recently sat down with someone in that group, had a conversation, and
Mhm.
everything was fixed. But it was that moment of pausing, getting my thoughts together, because sometimes we write our own story and,
Hmm.
and
That ain't even really
come
what
up with our
happened.
own outcome and expect that's what it's supposed to be.
Preach.
So after talking to the brother and everything, got everything fixed, I rejoined the group and moved on like nothing happened.
True
But
that.
that's just the personal responsibility of it. When you You
Mm-hmm.
don't have an idea of what's going on, or things are moving a little bit too fast. You got to learn how to
Mm-hmm.
push your own brakes
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
Come on,
before you
somebody.
crash.
Preach it today. Did you hear him? Say it one more time, XD. Say that last part one more again. Say that last
Yeah.
part about the brakes again.
Learn how to
Say
push
it
your
again.
own brakes before you crash.
Yeah.
Anybody in that car with you?
Yeah. So a quick tip to overthinkers: deal with reality. Deal with what actually happened, and not what you created in your head.
Come on,
A
somebody.
lot of times, people that are overthinkers, they deal with what they feel happened, not what really
Mhm.
happened. So deal with reality. If I said, you know, I don't want to go because I'm not hungry, that's what it is. Don't think that I don't want to go because I don't care about you anymore or I don't like you like that anymore. No, I said I don't want to go to eat because I'm not hungry.
That sounds
Deal
like
with
a
that.
real experience.
Yeah, I
Listen,
mean, it is a real life experience, you know.
child.
Like I told somebody once before, I said, I don't get on here and talk about fluff. I only talk about things that I deal with. And that's why I use a
Right,
lot of personal
right.
stories and examples in my elaborations of things because I feel like that gives people a little bit more a personal effect on the situation and you understand it better because I can elaborate in detail about these situations that happen in my life. I'm not
Mm,
making something up, you know, I'm
right.
just basically an open book and I'm giving you a page or two out of a certain chapter of my life. So just I'll just say that for the people that might be
Right.
watching that's an overthinker is deal with reality, man. Don't create something in your head because once you create something in your head, now you gotta face what you created, plus you still gotta face reality because reality is reality and that's what happened. And the other person on the other side,
On.
once you come back to them and say, you know, what you created in their head, they can be like, whoa, 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 I never said that. Like that's not what I said. Like let's deal with what
Right.
I said. You know, so
Lord, get out of my business.
let's face reality. Let's deal with reality. Um, and sometimes when you're an overthinker, don't let your mind wander.
Yeah, he in my business. Don't do that.
Go back to it right then because your mind is your devil's advocate in some instances. So
Mm-hmm.
deal with the situation in the moment and what reality is. Don't let it end or end on a cliffhanger. Now you got to think about it for a day, 2 days, or even 2 hours. Like do your best to communicate to whoever you're in a relationship with or whoever you're in a communication with that hey, I'm an overthinker. Like I sometimes I have to finish things right there in the moment or
Mm-hmm.
it's gonna go left. You got to
Mm-hmm.
be vulnerable when you're an overthinker. Sometimes it's hard to because you don't want people to judge you, but
Jesus.
if someone is
He in
if
my
someone
business. I told him don't do that, Nisi.
if someone is your friend or your mate, they
Mm-hmm.
should respect that you're an overthinker and they should give you the opportunity to finish situations. But that's for another episode
Sure
on
is.
people love
Come on
languages and
over.
people fully understanding you. I ain't gonna
Next
get too
week.
deep into that, but yeah.
Playtime is over part 2. We're going all the way in. You thought we went in on the first part. The second part gonna be something else. It's gonna be all kind of toes run over and mutilated. I'm just letting y'all know
And mutilated.
now.
Wow.
Um, so for the overthinker part, when he said stay rooted in reality.
Yeah.
Um, but somebody asked me a long time ago what Queen's realm meant. Queen is a state of mind. And I got the realm from a sermon that our pastor said. He said, make sure your realm is rooted in reality, meaning right now, what's
Mm,
actually happening. Because as a creative, because we are creative beings on here, as a creatives, it's easy for us to become overthinkers because we're always thinking of the next thing anyway.
Right.
hmm
Specifically when I write, I'm thinking of grandiose ideas and love and all kind of other things when I'm writing. So it's hard because you have to cut that off. Like you got to cut that off. And this is reality. This is not a story I'm writing on paper. I can write a beautiful narrative for myself, but not everything is life and beautiful every day.
Oh
So
yeah, definitely.
I, I got this world I created that I live in when I write, but that's not the world. That's not right here. That's not today.
Mhm.
And you can't get mad at a person if they don't know anything about the reality you created.
Ooh, say that
They
one more
just
time.
You can't get mad at another person because they don't know anything about the reality you created. nor do they know their role in that play you made up. This
Mm,
ain't your head.
mm.
They don't know.
You out here like Tyler Perry creating stuff.
Tyler Perry bad wigs and all in your brain. They don't know. They don't know they got a bad place run on in your dream. They don't know that. But you feel a lot of people feel like because you care about me, you're my friend, you're my husband, you're my wife, whatever, that I know that you know what I'm thinking.
Nope.
Mhm.
No. And they
Biggest
really don't know
mistake
what
in
you're thinking when you're an
relationships.
overthinker because as an overthinker, you got 90,000 thoughts every 90 seconds. They
Yep.
don't know what thoughts you want because you don't know what thoughts you want. How they supposed to know? So don't do that to people. We got one more point for today, y'all. One more point for this episode because this is a whole. It's gonna be lots of these. So I hope y'all soaking it in. Hope y'all taking notes because it's gonna be lots of these. And I got these in order, but I'm gonna add 3 points together in one.
Okay.
The 3 points are: you benefit from criticism, you're authentic, and you demonstrate empathy. I'm gonna put them all together because it's important to benefit from criticism. It's just who's giving the criticism,
Mm-hmm.
Right.
because you can get criticism from a random person that don't know you. But if it's a friend and they coming to you in love, they're not coming to you bitter. It's the way they saying it to you. Like, hey, can we talk? I'm worried about you, such and such. Don't get automatically defensive in that because some of us need our friends to call us out. I've been
It's
there.
a
Like I was
presentation.
saying earlier. Yeah, exactly. It is the presentation. It's how you bring it.
Right.
It's how you bring it. And then as we was talking about in Fight Night Part 1 is, are you in the position to receive what they're telling you?
Mm-hmm.
So you got to pause while somebody's talking to you and get control of your thought. You see how I'm using all these points right now? You got to pause when receiving said criticism because somebody can tell you something about yourself that's definitive and to the core, but you don't even know it's criticism because they said it so good. That's usually friends. But certain friends know how to talk to, but you know what friends not to play devil's advocate. You know what friends not to tell information to. Because some of us
Mm-hmm.
got them friends that shouldn't be our friends for real. And they, why you do that? And I wouldn't have done it like that. It couldn't have been me. Them couldn't have been me friends drive me insane. We know it couldn't have been you, boo. It happened to me. We know it couldn't have been you. That has been established. It couldn't have been you. Do you want a trophy? You want
Or
some
the
cookies? We're
or
not.
the you better than me.
Oh my God. I couldn't. That couldn't have been me. We know because I'm not you.
And we know it couldn't have been you because you ain't your elevator only goes certain high.
Listen, your elevator ain't going nowhere. The door just opening and closing. Now, the show authenticity, um, you cannot give somebody criticism. This is why I'm adding these 3 points together. If I don't feel like you're authentic, then I'm not going to accept the criticism.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Like I should know you as a friend and somebody I care about, blah blah. If I've seen you be fake and this, that, the third, I'm not
Mm-hmm.
that criticism. I'm also look at your life though, no lie. I'm gonna look at how you conduct life. If you're not authentic with yourself, I can't trust you to be authentic with me. Therefore, I cannot trust your criticism to be authentic. I just
Correct.
had to say that. And then empathy. You cannot give effective criticism if you're not empathetic.
Repeat that, please.
You cannot give. You understand? You cannot give correct criticism if you're not empathetic. But to
Mm-hmm.
be empathetic, you have to care about me.
Yes.
Goes
You have
back
to
to
care about me.
presentation.
A
Mm-hmm.
lot of people have friends, people they friends with, they call their friends, they bestie, they homie. Them people don't care about you for real.
At all.
They care about their place in your life, but they don't care about you. Because I'm gonna read this empathy thing. I'm gonna go. The ability to show empathy includes understanding others' thoughts and feelings, and it helps you connect better with that other person. Instead of judging or labeling others, you work hard to see things through their eyes. Because I don't
Mm-hmm.
want you criticizing. Well, you can criticize me all you want to, but I'm not going to listen to you. But I want you to know I want to know that you feel where I'm coming from, that you understand me. Like you're not me, but you understand me enough to know that's why I made said decision or that's why I move like this. But as my friend, you can still hold me accountable and be like, I understand why you did it, but
Right.
no, don't do that no more.
Mm-hmm.
Don't do that.
Yeah.
Don't do that. And all right, we gonna go with Elgin. Elgin first.
All right. So, to kind of speak to your point of empathy,
Mm,
I think that's the most important point in that aspect is, you know, I learned something a long time ago in the leadership course that I took, and it says that never break someone down without giving them something to build upon or giving them a reference of what they do well,
mm,
and I do my best to do that when I do coaching. Is say you have a friend and they're, let's just say they're gullible, they take everything, anything somebody says, they just take it and run with it. They do no type of fact check. They don't even question it, and it always leads them into heartbreak and deception.
mm,
So if you're dealing with somebody like that, you have to tell them like, hey, um, hey friend, I feel like you should you should understand that you're gullible, and men see that, or women see that,
mhm, mhm,
and they take advantage of you because they know that whatever they tell you, you're just gonna go with it wholeheartedly. But
mhm,
I respect how big your heart is and how passionate you are to the people that you interact with and the love that you give. It's important. Don't change. But what I'm asking you to do, or what I'm basically giving you some constructive criticism on, is doing your due diligence to make sure that you're not being taken advantage of. Make sure
right.
that you ask more questions. Make sure that you fact check the situation and not just run with whatever they said. So just something as simple as that. Whenever you're giving somebody some type of constructive criticism, you have to have empathy and follow it up, or lead off, because sometimes I lead off with the positivity when I do my correction with my staff. I say, hey, you do a great job at, follow through. You always deliver the food on time. You always check back with the cooks. But hey, this is where I need you to improve on. You don't do XYZ. Like, you don't have full hands in, full hands out. When you leave the kitchen all the time, you leave the kitchen with empty hands. Or when you're entering back into the kitchen, you don't have anything in your hands. You need to remember to clear a plate or bring the bus cart back into the kitchen. You should always have full hands in. So you can either lead with the positivity or you can finish with the positivity, but that varies about the person that you're dealing with. Some people, they need positive first so that they can open their heart to
Mhm,
negative. Some
mhm,
people, they can receive negative first, but as long as you give them a little bit of positive right afterwards, then they can fully digest that negative. So that's just you as the person who's giving constructive criticism. You have to learn that person and understand them well enough to know if you need to lead with positivity or if you need to finish with positivity. So that's just my play on empathy. It works in both ways. I'm just giving
mhm.
examples about leadership for me, but you can take those same examples and pair it to your relationship.
Nisi or XD, whichever one of y'all want to go.
I'll go.
Mm,
So Elgin basically spoke on the perspective of giving
mm,
the criticism. So I'm going to speak on the perspective of receiving it.
mhm,
So we have to be able to receive criticism, because at the end of the day, other people can see things in us sometimes better than we can see it, because they're looking
mm.
from another view. They
Yes.
have the bird's eye view of things that we don't even see and we don't even know about
Mm-hmm.
ourselves. Because, I've had, a lot of people, as far as like, close friends or family, I should say, that have showed me things about me. And I'm just like, wow, like, I didn't even know that, whether it's a
Right.
negative or it's a positive, because sometimes even positive things, we don't see the positive things in us. It's other people that see it in
Mm,
us. So
that's good.
we have to be able to accept it when someone is telling you, hey, like, this is an issue. It does really matter how the person gives you the criticism. But when they actually give you the criticism, then you got to be able to actually sit there and digest it, give it some thought, and actually like be able to hold yourself accountable, take ownership of it, and process what the person said, because whatever the person is saying, if it's coming out of a place of love, it's true.
Yeah.
So then you pretty much have to, at the end of the day, after you realize, okay, this is true, now,
Swallow it.
all right,
You got
now I need to manage this.
Mm-hmm.
That's where the whole management comes into play again. Now I need to manage it and see how I can balance it, deal with it, fix it, get rid of it, or whatever it is that you got to do. At that point, you just got to do what you got to do.
right.
Correct.
XD.
Perfect.
Look at the ability to understand and share feelings of another person, being empathy. You have to really step out of yourself and see what
Mm-hmm.
they're seeing with their eyes based on what the
Mm-hmm.
information they shared with you.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes people have a problem with that because they try to look at someone's feelings in a scientific way.
Mm.
Like, well, you feeling like this because you're not doing this or you're doing that. But that's not, most of the time people don't want to hear that. They wanted you to be able to hear where they're at or see what
Mm.
they see. And when you don't do that, they have a hard time reaching or understanding what you're trying to say to them.
Mm-hmm.
I had a situation with a friend of mine who I wanted to talk to about what I was feeling at one point, but he was telling me, well, just don't do it. And that was his response to what I was feeling. Just don't do
Mm.
it. That was his response. It didn't
Mm.
give me a clear understanding of what he was trying to say. But it was like, well, I don't want to do it, but that's what I'm feeling.
Mm-hmm.
And when you don't take time to really understand where someone's at, and you try to critique them or give them some help, you can sometimes come off like you're attacking them or belittling
Mm.
them because you're not taking the time to understand where they are at.
Mm. Mm. Woo. Listen here. For the sermons today, I'm gonna have to stop everybody now. I'm gonna throw this one point in. My mom over here, I'm gonna just call her Mama Queen. Mama Queen over here, uh, said, "I don't receive criticism well. I get really defensive, and I think it's because of my low self-esteem growing up." Let me tell you something. We don't even have
Mm-hmm.
time to unpack that right now. You
Yeah.
understand me? That's
Uh-huh. That's
uh,
good.
that's gonna be part two. But I listen. How you feel about yourself definitely affects how you take and
Feel
give
about
criticism.
others. Mm-hmm.
Cause baby, listen here. We're going to wrap this up today, guys. But what I want to do is I'm gonna show y'all this. I'm gonna see if I can see it. It's 30 seconds or less, people. I want your final thoughts.
The pressure.
Yeah, that's real pressure.
Wait, is that a timer? So you really
30
going?
seconds. Who's first? Because I'm
So
ready to
you
push start.
you
Who?
really gonna time us?
Yes,
All right.
yes, I am. All
Let's
right,
I'll
see.
go
Elvin, you first.
first.
Go ahead,
Okay,
AC.
Ed. Go ahead.
Oh,
Oh, wait, he ain't start talking yet. I'm gonna
okay,
cancel it and I'm gonna
so
restart.
I'm going to take
Boom.
from what Miss Williams said. Because
Mm-hmm.
growing up, I'm going to take from the comment from Miss Williams. Growing up
Mm-hmm.
and having low self-esteem makes it really hard for you to be able to accept what other people say about you.
Mm-hmm.
So having friends have that ability to be able to understand where you're coming from will help a whole lot more versus someone just randomly giving you advice about what you're doing wrong about your life.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Mm-hmm.
like you can't just walk into somebody's house and saying, well, your house, well, you need to clean that, you need to do this, you need to do that. But if you had a
Mm.
rapport or a relationship with that person, you would know how to approach them about it. And I feel like people just establish.
It went off,
Okay,
but I'm
I'm
gonna go.
done.
I'm giving up. Go ahead. You got another 30 seconds. Go ahead.
I don't like the whole timer
I'm gonna
thing.
let him
Don't do
finish his
that.
point. Go ahead. Go
It's
ahead. We get
rude.
good to me. This is why we be going so
Nah,
Just
I
long.
think
establish
I think
relationships
one
with
minute is
people.
fair.
Go ahead. This is why we going so long because we get good to me. I'll be wanting into it. Wait.
Just establish
Go ahead.
relationships with people so they can properly receive from you.
Oh, come on, somebody. Wait a minute. I gotta write that down.
I'm
Say it
done.
again. Say it again. I gotta write it down.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I gotta write it down.
Mm-hmm.
All right, all right. I heard what he said. You gotta establish a relationship with the right people. All right, Nisi. I ain't got no timer, but go.
You gotta do the church thing. Less than 2 minutes, please.
Church day.
When you get your
Right.
reflections at a
She
funeral,
I
said
passed it
30
out to
less
the
than
seconds.
2 minutes.
I
She
passed it
said
out to the
30
closers.
seconds.
Go ahead.
Okay. So, oh, the pressure. I can't even
I
think. Just,
turned the timer off. Go ahead.
okay. So, with emotional intelligence, um, it's very important to be able to deal with your emotions. Sometimes your emotions have nothing to do with other people. Let's
Mm,
just go there for a
preach.
second.
That'll preach.
Sometimes it has nothing to do with other people. It's just you, right? It may be something that you're going through or something that happened or whatever the case may be. And then you find yourself like, in your thoughts and your mind in a dark place. You may find yourself in that place, and it's okay because we all find ourselves in that place at a point of time. The only thing is, don't stay there. Don't stay
Come
down
on,
for too
somebody.
long, because
Hmm.
the longer you stay there, for myself, when that happens to me, I may be there a day, and then the next day I still feel the same way. By day two, I'm speaking to myself and I'm saying, "Hey, homegirl, get it together.
Right,
You can't go into day three feeling the way that you're feeling. Get
right.
your emotions together. You need to restore your mind
Mm,
and get it together, because the longer you stay in that space, the harder it is to pull yourself out. It's okay to deal with your emotions and be down or whatever the case may be. Just don't stay there for too long.
don't build no house there.
Right.
Elgin.
Definitely. So my final thoughts on
Mm,
emotional intelligence and the things that
I
we've
might
been
turn the
talking
timer
about
on for him.
this episode. Nah, I'm gonna be less than 2 minutes. I promise. I promise I'm gonna be less than 2 minutes.
Go ahead.
You so silly. I would just say my final thoughts would be to number one, to pause, like we've been saying. That's the key thing. And this whole thing is a lot of people, they just hear what somebody has to say and they respond immediately. They don't
Hmm.
even really know what the person said. They can't even feel the person's emotions. People speak with emotion. Let's just be honest. You
Yes.
know, the pitch and the tone in the voice is going to tell you what type of emotion it is. If they
Hmm.
stutter, if they second guess what they're saying, it's going to give you the emotion that they're feeling. If
Hmm.
you really tuned in and you're listening.
Hmm.
So I would say take a moment to fully listen and shut off your emotions when your partner or your friend is speaking, and then pause, hear what they got to say, digest it, di- dissect it, and then respond. So that would be my final thoughts and tips for anybody dealing with a relationship. To just kind of pause and listen, and practice emotional intelligence every day. Like I talked about in the beginning, you can practice it at work by just shutting off the world when you clock in, focusing in on whatever your job is, whatever your task is, and then coming back to the world when you get on lunch break or when you take your 15-minute break, whatever the case may be. And I'm done with that. And I'm just gonna do some shameless plugs real quick. Follow me on IG, executive_L, and
Hmm.
follow my me and my partner's page, lmbshow. I'm half of the lmbshow, and so follow that. We got a show coming to Dallas in January 23rd. Anybody listening out in Dallas will be out in Dallas. LMB show takes Dallas in January. So
Can
thanks.
I ask a question? What is this show? You said this
Ellen, I was just
Okay.
about
show.
to say, you got to
So
tell them what
LMB
LMB
show.
stand for.
Okay, so LMB show is the Love Me Better show.
Hmm.
Love Me Better is a community that we've created that is focused around self-love. So the LMB show talks about sex, relationships, self-love, transparency inside of a relationship. But we focus on self love because if you don't love you first, you can't love anybody else properly. And I say the word properly because if you don't love you, you can't show that love to someone else. So that's what the LMB show is about. My partner in that is Alexander Dixon. His IG is I am Alexander Dixon as well. So you can follow us. And like I said, we do shows all over the world. We primarily focused in Orlando for now, but 2021 is a different year.
Come on,
So
somebody. You better
the
speak it into
the
existence.
first show of 2021 is in Dallas, Texas. Actually, Duncanville, right outside of Dallas, if you want to be technical, but Dallas, Texas. So look out for us.
I'm gonna put
Come
all this
on,
information.
Elgin.
You're gonna have to
Come
send
on,
it in.
Executive L.
I
Yes,
told you he
yes,
fancy. He fancy.
yes.
He fancy. Uh, he gonna have to send me all this information because I'm gonna have to put it in the description box. I'm
Got
just
it.
saying. Speaking
I'll
of
send it
shameless
to you.
plugs, I'm gonna say my final point is real. I wrote it down. It's only two sentences. Um, you need to deal with your emotions before they deal with you. Point blank. Period. Your emotions gonna grow legs, arms, and ears, and there's gonna be a whole nother entity within you that's just your emotions, and they're gonna have you out here like a marionette, like a little puppet. So deal with your emotions before they deal with you. This is
True
just
that.
part one of Do You Feel That? It's going to be more to this. It's more points. Emotional intelligence. I'm going to hit over to the comments real quick. My mama said, my mama said, Mama Queen said, I accept more easily for someone I know knows me, from someone I feel knows me and well enough to have it. They know me well enough to have an opinion. So I think she was agreeing with XD on that part. And my mom had a
Hmm.
question for Fancy over here. She said is executive. Jesus is executive doing a cooking show. He need to.
Ha.
He need
That's
to
that's coming too.
because he be on here showing out with the food. Trying to tell you.
Yeah. So just stay tuned for that. I will be starting a culinary YouTube channel. I don't have a date yet, but it will be in 2021 as well. So I'll make sure I put that in the bio or whatever
Yeah, all the
when
information
it
you gonna
comes
send to
out.
me because he showed out on Thanksgiving. I wish I could have screenshot it and show the way he was disrespectful with the roux he made for. Okay, we shameless plug again. Do you see it? Do you see it? Do
Yes,
you
You
see it?
did that in the
yes,
beginning of the set, but okay. I'll let you do it again.
Mhm. You know, my
yes.
girl over there in the corner. You know what I'm saying?
Miss
Faithful in it.
Niece,
You know what I'm
Miss
saying? You got to be
Niece.
faithful in it. You got to stay in your faith walk. You got to be faithful in any situation, any storm, any test. You got to be faithful in it. You understand
Hmm.
me? I can go in.
You
Listen here.
know, you about to preach.
I had you see
That's
me
gonna
pull it back.
preach.
Pull it. That's how I feel when I put this on. Y'all don't even understand. It ain't even a gimmick. It ain't even me being biased because that's my girl and I love her. But she understands I had to be faithful in it for a whole year. Hallelujah. Then I met somebody, who reminded me every day I had to be faithful in it and helped me stay faithful in it and prayed me through it. So I'm gonna tell y'all don't understand. This right here. This ain't even a hat. This ain't even a clothing line. This is a real lifestyle. Do you understand me? This is life. I wouldn't have
This is
made
a
it into
lifestyle.
2020 without being this right here. Do you understand me? So I just had to let y'all know real quick. I'm gonna put that's faithfulinit.com. She don't just got hats, she got dresses,
Okay.
she got shirts, she got slides. Don't
Y'all
play with
check
her.
out y'all check out the website for real.
I'm gonna
Yes.
put it in there. I'm gonna put it down there. Oh, my mom said where her head at. I got you. I got you. Oh, let me plug my mama real quick. She got SMW Medical Billing Solutions. She does medical billing for doctors' office, companies.
That's what's up.
All the plugs gonna be in the description box below. And we also got Chris and the XD. The XD over here, they be preaching. You understand
Hmm.
me? They
Yes.
give you a little sweet sermon. You don't even know it's a sermon. Boom, you in church.
Hmm.
But anyway, this has been another episode of the Queen's Realm podcast. Again, I'm gonna thank all my guests, the XD, Executive L, aka Fancy, Nisi, aka my Haitian princess, my Haitian goddess. We'll be back, y'all. We'll be back. We'll be back.
Thank
But
you for having us.
Thank you
I
for
love
having me.
y'all. And we out of here. We out of here. Bye. Bye.